Thank you, Eddie, and thank you, Conference. Conference, in 2010, very few people knew what a food bank was. But we all know now. And I've spent the last 9 months visiting food banks where people collect and distribute food to families who cannot afford to feed themselves. In 2012, in Britain. In Norwich, organiser Grant Habershon told me how demand at his food bank had risen by 50% compared to last year, as more parents struggled to feed their children during the school holidays. In Bradford, I packed a food parcel for a mum who skipped meals so her children could eat dry toast with no jam, she told me. In Harlow, in Skelmersdale, Halesowen, Dorset, the story was the same. Cuts to lunch clubs, breakfast clubs, changes to tax credits and housing benefits are all forcing proud parents to rely on charity. I saw the daily struggle of families to put a hot meal on the table. And I learned about the work of churches and charities like the Trussell Trust, Food Cycle and FareShare. The Trussell Trust estimates they'll feed 200,000 people this year. And FareShare feeds 36,000 people a day through their network of 700 charities. We are the 7th richest nation in the world, yet we face an epidemic of hidden hunger, particularly in children. Working families relying on charity for a daily meal. But there's more than enough food to go around. Food is not the problem. The problem is a Tory-led government making the wrong political and economic choices. A government so out of touch that their farming minister didn't even know the price of a pint of milk. A cost of living crisis. But what is the cost of hunger? Hunger costs us millions in poorer educational results for children too hungry to concentrate in class. Hunger costs us millions in lost productivity. This is the poverty trap. This is the real cost of hunger. Last year, Conference, I asked you to join Back the Apple, our campaign to save the Agricultural Wages Board to protect the pay and conditions of rural workers in England and Wales. I'm pleased to say that despite the Tories and Liberal Democrats voting to abolish the AWB, thanks to our campaign alongside Labour MPs, Unite the Union and the Welsh Assembly Government, this government has not yet managed to scrap it. And today, the 1st of October, what may be the last agricultural wages order comes into force. Today, over 152,000 farm workers, fruit pickers, food packers will get a pay rise, and that's thanks to you. Next year, if the Tories have their way, they won't. But I'll be working with my shadow team to expose how out of touch the Tories and Lib Dems are with rural areas. And I want to thank my fantastic shadow ministers, Hugh Iranka-Davis, Gavin Shuker, Tom Harris in the Commons, Jim Knight and our very own dairy farmer, John Grantchester in the Lords, our whip, Susan Ellen Jones, Team PPS, Chris Evans and Fiona O'Donnell, and Heidi Alexander, who've now left the team. But what have the Tories been doing in rural areas? Youth unemployment rose faster in rural areas than in cities in the first 2 years of this government. They've decimated rural bus services, delayed the rollout of universal broadband, making it harder to start and grow a business in the countryside. So what can Labour do to tackle this cost of living crisis and create green jobs? We've been focusing on 3 big areas. First, we know people are struggling to pay their water bills. And we know that bad debt adds £15 a year to everyone's bills. We want water companies to cut that bad debt by taking tough action on those who won't pay to help those who can't pay. A Labour government would force all water companies to offer social tariffs to help those most in need. But this government wants to leave it to water companies to decide for themselves. Second, we want the food industry to create the new green jobs that Britain needs. The food industry is our largest manufacturing sector. It turns over £76 billion a year, with export earnings of £12 billion. Big numbers and big opportunities. The world will need to feed an extra billion people by 2025. And we need food security here at home and to export more to a world hungry for great British food. We want a fair deal on food. That means a fair price for the milk that dairy farmers produce and a groceries code adjudicator with real teeth. Labour have been working alongside the Consumer Association for clearer pricing in supermarkets to ensure special offers really do offer a good deal. And third, our strategy for new green jobs means we've got to stop talking about waste and start talking about natural resources. Businesses need a secure supply of raw materials to manufacture goods. They are struggling to source those materials in the UK as we export so much of our waste. And when we export waste, we're exporting jobs. If we keep it here, we keep those jobs in the UK. So we will raise our recycling targets and give waste processors the certainty they need to invest in new facilities and create new green jobs. And in a world where food prices are rising and people in this country are going hungry, we think it's wrong that edible food goes to landfill. We can create low-carbon jobs collecting that food and getting it to people who need it. But this government just doesn't have a plan. Conference, families need a Labour government that is on their side. But even in opposition, we can do our bit. This Saturday, the 6th of October, I'll be standing outside a supermarket in Wakefield with the whole Labour team, asking people to donate one food item to FareShare's Million Meal Appeal. You can join us by going to fareshare.org.uk. The Twitter hashtag is Meal Appeal. Across the country, hundreds of Labour MPs, councillors, supporters, party members will be doing the same. Stand up, sign up at fareshare.org.uk. We may not make the rules in government, but we can still make the change we need on the ground. Conference, Labour has changed. Let's show people we are the change the country needs. Thank you.